Welcome to episode 49 of Two Dudes in a Movie. I'm Luke Parrish.
I'm AJ Ferguson.
And I'm Paul Tabling.
All right, today we're reviewing The Martian.
Yes.
Starring our boy...
Matt Damon.
Mark Wadney.
It's not Leonardo DiCaprio?
Not Leonardo DiCaprio.
Or Mark Wahlberg?
No. Not any of those guys.
People get all three of those guys confused. I'm like, guys, they don't look that similar.
It's like they all became
because they were all in the same
actors
movie.
at the same time.
The Departed just kind of messed all three of those guys'
who-
profile up because now it's like, what?
One of them dudes.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt.
But before we talk about that movie, let's talk about what we've been watching this week. AJ, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, so I have a confession to make. This is by far the least I've watched since COVID hit. I've only watched one thing besides The Martian.
Man.
Trying to think if that's not true, but that's true. So that's all I've watched. So Callie has Apple TV Plus through her student, ID stuff for free for a year. So we're trying to take advantage of that. So we watched a movie last night with Samuel L. Jackson and
Anthony Mackie, isn't it?
Anthony Mackie. It's called The Banker. You guys watched it? Heard of it?
I've heard of it. I didn't know it was out yet.
Okay, so it's on Apple TV Plus. I think it's exclusively on there. I'm pretty sure. So
everything on there is exclusive.
Yeah. So, real quick summary. Basically, Mackie's character is really, really, really smart, but he has very little money, and he wants to move to LA, make it big in the real estate market. And Samuel L. Jackson's already in the real estate market in LA, and it's during the 60s, and so there's a lot of racial tension in the movie.
Yeah.
And basically, they end up becoming friends, becoming partners, and they start making a lot of money on real estate. And then they're like, man, what if we owned both sides of this market? Because the opposite side of the real estate market is the banking market.
Yeah.
So then they're like, well, let's go buy some banks. So then they go to Texas and they try to buy some banks in Texas because Mackie's character's from Texas. And so it's
cheaper
like,
too.
Yeah. But
Right.
it's super, like the race stuff is way darker and way like more intense in Texas than it is in California. And so they run into a lot of problems. Basically, it's all a true story. It's based on a true story. I shouldn't say it's all true because I don't know if it's all true or not. But it's based on a true story. It's actually pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
I was really impressed. I thought it was going to be like pretty low budget, pretty low quality.
No, not on Apple, bro.
With like some really good actors. So I thought they were going to spend all their money on the actors and then not actually have like that good of a movie.
Yeah.
It was actually really good. The writing was really good. The directing was great. Cinematography was pretty cool. Obviously Samuel L. Jackson and Anthony Mackie kill it. So it's like I enjoyed it a lot. Not everybody out there has Apple TV Plus, but if you do, definitely check it out. I liked it a lot. That's all I watched this week, actually.
Sweet.
So,
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, before I'm gonna break a little bit from the topic before I get started.
Wait a minute.
I'm just gonna give a shout out to Zack Snyder for #release the Snyder Cut coming out on HBO Max next year.
That might be the only reason I get HBO Max.
That's why I'm getting it. 4 hours long is what it's gonna be. They're either gonna release it as episodes,
I've heard,
or episodic, or just one fat movie.
Dude.
Wow.
And they're HBO is going to pay $20 million to finish the movie, all like the post production and all that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I am pumped,
Dude.
like this is the most excited I've been for something like cinematically in a while. I think.
It better not flop.
More than Endgame?
Well, I mean, in a while. It's been what, like a year since Endgame.
Episode 9?
My
Really?
excitement had kind of dropped.
This trumps your excitement for episode 9?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Not
I
really.
wasn't like I was pumped for Star Wars, but man, after like not the down 8 again, but just like my excitement level like dropped considerably after that, just because I don't know. Story. But back to the topic at hand.
Yeah, go
here.
for it.
What I've been watching is not much because I moved into a new house this week, so I've either not had a TV hooked up or been like head deep in some boxes.
Nice.
But I did get a chance to watch I watched episode I think 3 and 4 of The Mandalorian. The gallery.
Yeah, I'm behind.
I need to watch those.
On that.
One was the actors.
Nice.
And one was production, I think, or technology, which honestly, these two were kind of boring for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the first two are kind of going to be the best.
The first two were very strong.
I think they're going to be the best two.
And these two were very much like okay.
Yeah.
Like I was more interested in like the technology one than the actor one, but still it wasn't like those. Yeah. Those were topics that probably needed a shorter episode than
whenever
the 30
you watch
minutes.
like bonus features like on a DVD, do you care more about like the actors talking or like the directors and writers and like other people talking?
I like hearing the directors and writers.
I do too.
Yeah.
Like, there's like always like 75. I feel like bonus features about the actors. I'm like I skip over all of those. I just go straight to like the director and the writer, and then some of the behind the scenes like technology stuff.
Well, how far behind were you, or are you?
I watched the first two.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked about the last two. We talked about the second one.
Have you? Where are you at?
I'm same place to AJ is.
Okay. Well, in the actors one, man, it was like it was a little disheartening watching that one because I get it. I think I knew they did this, but a lot of the time it wasn't Pedro Pascal in the suit.
Yeah.
And then for the most part he was doing like voiceover stuff.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
yeah, that kind of sucks. Yeah, I knew that before I ever watched the show, and I knew that they were going to do that throughout the show. But I try not to think about it because I was like, I mean, I know they're doing that like in my head, but I was like, I don't want to think about it because that sucks. Like that kind of takes away.
Because they brought in a guy that's good with guns for him to do all the gun stuff. I'm like, I kept thinking back to Magnificent Seven, where all those guys got like gun training.
Yeah.
Like this idea. I was like, why couldn't Disney just do that?
Well, and it's convenient that he has a helmet on, so it's like they don't actually have to have him.
Yeah, because
like John Wick can't like take a body double and do. You know what I'm saying? Like it's John Wick. He's got to do his own stunts.
Yeah.
But the Mandalorian's got the helmet, so it's like
he had two stunt doubles. One did a lot of the flipping and this and that, or not the flipping, but like the hand-to-hand combat, and the other one did a lot of the gun work.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Hate that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But the other thing I watched was I'm still watching What We Do in the Shadows. So I watched a few more episodes of that. It just got renewed for a third season on FX. So whoop whoop.
What'd you think? I only saw clips of it of the Mark Hamill guest spot on What We Do in the Shadows.
I haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, you haven't seen that?
I haven't gotten there yet. I'll have to watch that though.
Some of the clips were funny that I saw.
I'll have to check that out. But yeah, no, I've been watching a few episodes of that a day.
Nice.
Still rock solid. So
nice.
Paul, what you got?
So I'm the one who watched the most of the whole of the show for the first time.
I was about to say this is different.
This is odd,
especially compared to last week when I watched like 9 things.
Right.
Sure.
Well, first thing, I finished Assassin's Creed Odyssey,
which
is like the longest game I think I've ever played.
Nice.
Yeah, stupid
Stinking long.
What number Assassin's Creed is that?
Dude,
like 8 or 9.
12.
It's getting up there.
I never played past
first
3.
one, and then there was the Ezio trilogy. Then there was 3, 4.
Well, there's Brotherhood mixed in with that.
3 is the last
there's
one I
4
played.
Ezio ones. Black Flag, the one in London, the one on like the PSP,
the one in France,
the one in
which wasn't very good.
Unity, and then there was one.
Yeah, so like 12.
The Revolutionary War one.
That's insane.
There's probably 12.
Yeah, and they're getting ready to come out with a new one at the end of the year.
Valhalla,
which looks dope.
Vikings.
I just cannot believe they still make. Like they make a lot of money.
As long as there's this like history groups and stuff, and then
people are all about
they
it.
did the one in Egypt, Assassin's Creed
that
Origins,
one was cool.
Which that was a flip for the franchise because then they started doing it very much more open world and RPG.
Yeah. Man,
interesting. But so I finished that, and then I'm now playing through The Last of Us again to get ready for next month.
I'm about to do the same thing. I beat it. I beat it on every single difficulty, but the very hardest one. That's my next goal.
Woo!
I love that game.
Oh yeah. Have you already got your pre-order for 2?
Not yet. I got a little scared. I'm not gonna lie. I got a little scared about a month ago when the leaks came out. I didn't read the leaks, but I just saw the reaction to the leaks. Like everyone was very disappointed. I was like, oh no. But then I follow a lot of the games journalists and the industry, and they've all gotten the play test for it this week, and they're all very jacked on it. So,
dude, yeah, I got my like collector's edition one today.
The one with the statue, or
yeah, it's not the one like the biggest one that's got like a backpack, but it's like the next one down with like a little statue.
That's exciting. That's a good stinking game,
dude. I'm excited. But anyway, back to actual things I've watched. I watched Deepwater Horizon. With Mark Wahlberg.
Dylan O'Brien.
I don't know who that is, actually.
He's the Maze Runner.
Oh.
Don't like him.
I've never watched those movies, so
Okay.
I watched, and then to get a bit more into the spirit of the space movies, and Jana actually suggested that we watched Apollo 13,
Yes.
which
Classic.
I hadn't watched that movie in a long time.
Those
so that
darn
was
air tanks, right?
Really good.
the air tanks blowing, dude. That was so crazy. And then started watching Big Bang Theory again.
Nice.
How many seasons of that are there?
Classic.
12,
Yeah.
11.
Bunch, dude.
I've been watching it while I'm working. It's just a good show to,
Yeah.
because I finished Parks and Rec.
Nice.
And so I was like, okay, I don't want to start. I want to do something different, like, and just find something. So I was like, Big Bang Theory.
Something with a laugh track.
Yeah.
So,
Community, bro.
so I like.
Well, I need to watch that with Jana.
I know.
Wait, what's the show you just mentioned?
Big Bang Theory.
I don't know why I lost. I started thinking about Parks and Rec, but Big Bang Theory. Have you watched those clips on the internet of like it without the laugh track?
No,
Like how cringy it is.
dude, I bet it's.
It sucks because I like the show,
Yeah.
but it's like the same with Friends because they do the same thing with Friends.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just like anytime you take the laugh track out of anything, it's like so it's like super props to shows like The Office, Parks
Right.
and Rec, and like Brooklyn
Dude,
Nine-Nine.
the comedy changes. It just totally changes, especially when there's not a live audience. Like
Yeah.
it just totally changes the way that you do comedy.
Yeah.
Have you watched any of the spin-off of that show?
Young Sheldon.
Oh, yeah. I watched like the first 3 episodes, and it
bad.
was awful.
Yeah. It's still on TV, so apparently some people out
Some
there
people are
watch
watching it.
Mm.
But dude, I feel like that's something like
No,
CBS does. Is they're
yeah,
just like
yeah.
push out a show whether people are watching it or
Well,
not.
if
somehow.
one show is successful, like, well, we'll make some money off the next one.
Oh, right. Yeah.
For sure.
Then the last thing we watched was Shrek 1 and 2.
Nice.
Some
Shrek
childhood
the third is my
nostalgia.
favorite, dude.
We see. I didn't say Jan and I only
love
are
Shrek the
fans of
third.
the first and second
Oh, I
one.
love
I don't
the
like
third
the
one.
third
I
one.
love
I've
the
never
third
seen
one.
the fourth one.
The fourth one's not very good.
I haven't seen the fourth one. I've seen the first 3. The one with the fairy godmother is like
That's the second
that's
one.
a good one.
Oh,
But the
dude.
first one's such a classic.
Oh,
It's
dude,
like,
it's so
you
good.
can't beat that.
The fourth one with Rumpelstiltskin, he says, "Love you, Daddy."
I haven't seen that.
Yeah,
So-
no clue what you're talking about.
You're not the Muffin Man.
That's a funny movie. Okay, the third one is hilarious with the wizard on the island who like has the beard who like in the short.
I think I've only seen that
the
one
short
one
skirt.
time.
I saw it at
he
the
eats
drive-in once.
He eats the rocks. Oh my gosh, that movie is so good. The third one is my favorite. The first one's great. I mean, it's totally great. The
Yeah.
third one is hilarious. You gotta try the third one, man. It's
Okay.
funny.
Like I said, I've seen it, but I think I've seen it one time.
It's funny.
Because doesn't he like go after
Yeah.
like Arthur
Yeah.
or something or
Yeah.
other?
It
It's
goes
like
up- yeah.
Blonde kid.
Yeah.
yeah,
Because he doesn't want to be king. Because the king dies. John Cleese's
Yeah.
the frog king dies.
yeah.
Yeah, and they sing the Beatles, and dude, it's a funny movie, man. That's a good one. I like the third one a lot.
That's funny. But yeah, that's all I watched.
Okay.
Nice.
Wow.
Okay. Top 5 space movies?
Space movies.
Okay, so we've done top 5 alien movies. I think we did that with our Signs episode, I would assume.
Probably.
That's the only alien movie we've done before.
Yeah, unless what did we do with Interstellar? I can't remember.
Well, I wasn't on that episode.
Yeah,
that
that
was-
was like OG episode.
That was
like-
100 years ago,
yeah, it was
episode like 2 or 3.
So for our top 5 space
Yeah,
movies,
Signs.
it was aliens. Top 5 space movies, we tried to exclude aliens because we've already done an aliens list. This is going to be more of like a sci-fi,
More human-centered.
human-centered
Yeah.
storylines.
Mm-hmm.
My 2 honorable mentions are Passengers with Chris Pratt and Katniss Everdeen. I always forget her stinking name.
Jennifer
Lawrence.
Katniss Everdeen.
I always forget her name because
How do you remember Katniss Everdeen?
Because
No
she's
kidding.
Katniss, bro. She's Katniss. She is Katniss more than
She
she's
is the
Jennifer.
Hunger Games.
Yeah, 100%. Passengers, which we've actually done an episode on Passengers.
Yeah.
Which we
Like
both
the second episode or something or
both
other you guys
liked.
did.
we both liked it, but we didn't love it.
It's on my honorable mention list too.
Yeah.
It's like one of my favorite premises,
Yeah, for sure.
but just poor execution.
yeah, it's really, really cool for about an hour.
Yeah.
It just kind of goes. It doesn't go downhill after that. It's just like okay. after
Then it's
that.
really not cool.
Yeah. My other honorable mention is a movie called October Sky.
Oh
Have
yeah.
y'all seen that one or heard of that one?
No.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
So it's like it's less like spacey.
That's the one with a kid, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have seen this. I
Yeah,
have
the
seen
guy
this,
wants
yeah.
he wants to like become an astronaut. So it's more of like a
Okay.
it's loosely a space movie. Honestly, I didn't have that many space movies to work with here. So
yeah.
It's kind of loose. But yeah, those are my 2. I like Passengers. It's a fun movie. It's not a great movie, but it's fun to watch.
Passengers was my one honorable mention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I wish it was better.
Yeah.
I really do.
If you like that movie, we have an episode that Luke and I did before pre-Paul.
That's right.
On the show.
Pre-Paul.
But yeah, it's good. It's just not. It's not my favorite.
Well, my one honorable mention, because apparently, a lot of other space quote unquote movies are alien based.
Yeah.
Is Wall-E.
Wally.
Oh man, I was like 8 years old, 10 years old.
Yeah.
And we went to the theater, and I was like falling asleep in the theater. As a child, I was like, it's actually not bad though. As an adult, as an adult, I like it.
Jane and I like that movie a lot.
Yeah, it's good. The people on the on
they're
the
like
hover
fat.
thing.
People, yeah.
They're on the hovercraft stuff.
Yes.
My number 5 is a movie called Space Cowboys with Clint Eastwood,
Tommy Lee Jones,
and a couple other famous people.
Donald Sutherland,
Yeah,
James Garner.
Yeah, there you go. And
I really enjoy that movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
apparently Clint Eastwood directed this movie. It's one of his first-ish movies to direct. I can't remember exactly, but maybe not. Anyway, it's a cool movie. It's loosely based on a true story. But it's pretty cool. It's got an all-star cast, a little bit older. I think it came out in the early 2000s. Maybe 2000 on the money, something like that. But it's pretty good.
Okay. My number 5 is Wall-E.
Yeah. Get it.
So Danielle absolutely hates this movie.
Yeah.
It's like her least favorite movie of all time just because there's no talking.
Right?
It's like 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yes, just
Yes.
not like 5 hours long.
Oof.
No, but I like this movie a lot because I mean this is a Pixar movie, right? Or is this
Yeah,
Disney?
yeah.
Okay,
That's
Pixar.
Pixar.
Yeah.
Well, I mean Disney owns Pixar, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
but it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a little different.
it's tiny.
It's like Toy Story.
It's a different building on the same campus, okay?
There's a little bit of a difference, but no, I like Wall-E a lot just because a lot of the moral like issues it deals with and kind of like the world issues. Like if we do keep treating the planet like this is what's gonna happen. If we do keep eating like this is what's gonna happen. Except for like the space part, the giant like space station thing going through space.
The crazy ship that they all live on.
Yeah, and then how they can make you feel for like a couple of robots.
Right.
I think that's something Pixar makes you excel at. Making you like really care for like inanimate objects. Like Toy Story, a bunch of toys.
Right.
100%.
Yeah, so yeah, number 5.
My number 5 is actually the movie that Jan and I watched this week, is Apollo 13.
Nice.
And like I said, I'd really forgotten a lot about this movie because it's been a long time since I've seen it. But it's, for those of you that don't know, Apollo 11 was Neil Armstrong, and the guy whose name I've already forgotten, Tom Hanks' character, went up in Apollo 8 and just went around the moon, didn't land. And so he got on the 13, which was going to be the next one that they were going to be the next guys on the moon.
Yeah.
And got there. Yeah, the oxygen tanks exploded, so he had to do another flyby to get back. And this is a crazy story. That's one of the things that I'm sure we'll get into more with The Martian, but that's one of the most tense. These space movies are super, super tense.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy because like one thing, and you're like, it's over.
Oh yeah, you're like, oh, I can't breathe anymore.
Yeah,
Well, we're dead.
Such a volatile environment that you're just like you can't make any mistakes,
Right.
Number 4 for me is a movie called Hidden Figures. Again, not a
it counts.
Space movie, but it's a NASA movie.
Yeah.
I'll throw it in there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I actually really enjoyed this movie. It's one of Callie's favorite movies. And for those of you who don't know, it's about, I think it's actually in the 60s, maybe in the 70s. There's these couple of black ladies who work for NASA, and they're like super undervalued because they're black and also because they're women.
Yeah.
And they're some of the smartest people at NASA, and they end up actually helping them figure a lot of really important things out. And it's a really cool movie for a lot of social reasons, but it's also just like a really good cinematic movie. Like they did a great job making the movie. So I really enjoy that story. It's a fun movie for sure.
Okay.
It's definitely a good like feel good kind of movie,
Nice.
So it just seems like
It's not a typical space movie because obviously space movies are very edgy and like suspenseful. This is much more of a feel good movie.
All right,
More down to earth.
Yeah, for sure. They don't actually go to space in this movie, but I counted it because, like I said, there's not that.
They
many
watch people
space
go to
movies.
space.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So I guess in that regards, you can call what The Sandlot or Sandlot 2 a space movie because he's all about that rocket. The one.
I guess so. Yeah.
My number 4 is, this is where the lines really, really, really blur. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah. So I had to put it in there because this is probably one of the most fun space movies
For sure.
ever.
I'll give it that.
Like, I think. And then the fact that Peter Quill's like human, and then
That's
he's
true.
all this like bunch of humanoid type stuff.
We'll allow it.
Yeah,
We'll allow it.
it's extremely blurs the lines, but
You did the gladiator thing where he's like,
yeah.
The thumbs
But I
up.
couldn't leave it out just because I kept thinking about it. I was making this list. I was like, man, I really do. Like, I remember going to the theater not knowing anything about this movie and just having like the
Yeah.
most fun I've had in like
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
my life. Good
For sure.
movie theater.
for sure.
Nice. 4, right? So we're right.
Yep.
My number 4 is Gravity.
Sandra Bullock,
Sandra Bullock.
George Clooney.
For 10 minutes of the movie.
I've never seen this movie.
I haven't either.
It's a really good movie. It's a similar premise of being like alone in space as the Martian, because there's only like 4 total actors in the movie, and
Sandra Bullock,
George Clooney, and Ed Harris is like the guy from like Flight Control, and is like talking to him,
like
and there's
Ed
like
Harris.
one other person, but they're like on the International Space Station or whatever, and they're doing like a spacewalk, and Sandra Bullock, like, there's like asteroid hits the whatever, and she gets cut loose and is just floating through space. And so
that's the whole movie, isn't it? She's just,
like it's a really interesting movie because she's alone.
Is this the movie that people were like getting sick in the theater?
Yes. Because it is disorienting because like when she first like flies away, she's flipping.
Right.
And so, but they also, and another person had to tell me, what's it called when you film a whole movie and it's off center? It's like angled, isn't it?
well, I mean, I say we always said just say filming it like Dutch or whatever.
Yeah, that's what it was Dutch. It's the whole movie when she's in space is filmed this way, so it's disorienting. So, but it's I think she won an Oscar for it because she does a really, really good job of, I'm not going to give it away, but like she finds like another like floating space station where she can actually survive for a little bit and then has to land and all this stuff. But it's a really interesting, good movie.
Cool.
Super tense.
Yeah,
like I said, all these space movies.
Yeah. I feel like Martian, Interstellar, and Gravity all came out within like
Yes.
a year of each other.
They did.
And I just never saw Gravity because I loved Interstellar and Martian so much. I was like, there's no way it's going to be as good as those two movies. And I just, yeah. Number 3 for me is Apollo 13. Paul already talked about it. Man, I love this movie. It's one of my favorite space movies for sure. Tom Hanks kills it in this movie.
Yep.
I love the true story aspect of it too. It just makes it more interesting for me for whatever reason. And yeah, like Paul said, the tension is through the roof.
Yep.
And for being kind of an older movie, I think it holds up really well.
Yeah.
It still looks really great. So good movie.
Update. I changed my number 4, Guardians of the Galaxy, to make my list a little bit more streamlined. Number 4 is Serenity.
Hey.
The Firefly movie.
Hey, there we go.
Boy, that is some good stuff. All right, but now that that's updated, let's talk about my number 3, which I just forgot which list I was looking at.
Huh?
Oh, hold on. I was looking at my wrong list. Guardians of the Galaxy and WALL-E was switched, so let's pretend I didn't talk about that. Number 3 is Interstellar.
Nice.
So
That is my number 3 as well.
nice. AJ's boy.
Yes.
Christoph Waltz. Nolan.
Such a great movie.
This movie is also incredibly long. I don't know why,
Whew.
but
So good.
I think this movie was going to be higher on my list. It was very close between this and my number 2, but I moved Interstellar down because of the very end. It just I get how poignant it is, but it just didn't click with me. Like the rest of the movie, I'm through it, and like the last probably 5 minutes, I'm just like, huh. But no, I mean,
gotcha.
we have a whole episode on this movie, so go listen. It's like episode 2 or 3.
Yeah, it's one of our first
Go
episodes.
check it out.
Yeah.
Yep, go listen to that. But yeah, I was not on that episode, so you're going to hear my feelings on this movie a little bit. I really enjoy. I actually just saw this movie for the first time, I think last year. And I really enjoyed it, not just because it's Chris Nolan, but I really enjoy Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
And just love the way that, the whole time thing with going to certain different planets and
Super cool.
the relationship that whole crew had together, and especially with the robots, Tars. So was that his name?
Mm-hmm.
And then there was another one that was lesser. Mm-hmm. But, the way that they made that to where you're, again, like falling in love with the robot or whatever.
Yeah.
For sure.
Wally.
Exactly. But, yeah, the ending was a little far-fetched, but all in all, a very good movie.
Yeah.
My number 2 is The Martian. We're going to talk about this in a long time here in a second, so I'm not going to talk about too much, but I do really enjoy this movie. One of the best, if we ever make a list of best movies based on books, it would definitely be on that list as well.
Best show.
One of my favorite books I read the last year and a half or so. Great book, but also they killed it from that perspective of taking the book and implementing it on screen.
Yeah.
Which
Pretty close adaptation.
really, really close. There are a couple of minor things, but nothing major at all. And like I said, we'll talk about this in more detail here in a second.
My number 2 is Ad Astra.
Nice.
I figured that was going to sneak into yours.
I thought it was gonna be his number 1.
Like I said, we haven't seen it.
I know he likes Martian a lot.
Bradley Pitt himself, man. I love movies, like character movies where just like kind of like how The Martian is, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, that's my number 1.
Well, I mean,
but like these, I mean, it makes sense that these are my 1 and 2 because they're very character focused and very much. This is, Ad Astra. It's Brad Pitt basically by himself the whole time,
right?
For the most part. And I mean, it's Brad Pitt. Come on, like Jesus, dude. Some space pirates are in it, and like,
oh boy,
crazy monkey and black holes. You guys haven't seen it. Just go watch Ad Astra. Come on.
You've been talking about it for like a year and a half.
We do need to watch that one. My number 2 is Space Cowboys.
Nice.
I'm a huge Clint Eastwood fan in general, but I also, I don't know what it is, just mainly because like some of the older guys like Tommy Lee Jones and James Garner were both in a lot of Western movies. Yep. And so, again, me loving Westerns makes me really like a lot of these older actors like that. Clint Eastwood, too, in a lot of Westerns, obviously.
For sure.
So that's why I like a lot of their stuff. But it's these, again, for those of you who don't know the movie, it's these 4 older guys, and they were Air Force pilots, and were going to get to be, supposed to be one of the first guys to go up in the space and things like that. But then they got beat out by, like, that was during the time where they were sending monkeys into space and things like that.
Yeah.
And so that really pissed them off, and they, like, quit the whole space program and all this stuff. And then so, however many, 30-something, 40 years later, one of the Clint Eastwood's characters, also a engineer, and, like, one of the satellites he engineered is failing. And they have to go up to save it, and they're really not sure why. They're just like, let it burn and crash.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we can't. There's like technology on it that we can't let it crash. And so they're like, okay, you've got like a month to train this other astronaut. And he's like, no, just send us. We'll go. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of bend NASA over a barrel, honestly. And they're like, nope, we're not going to train him unless we get to go, kind of thing.
Yeah. And
it ends up, it's really funny at times because it's these, again, geriatric old guys that are trying to train with NASA guys, and they're just like, like, and they have to do their like physicals and things like that. But at the end, it's a very good movie.
Awesome. Number 1,
Interstellar for AJ,
and Martian for y'all,
and Luke and I are Martian.
Yep.
Yeah. So honestly, my number 2 is Martian, and my number 1 is Interstellar. So. And one of my meta questions later is going to be, which is better, Martian or Interstellar? And so I don't want to talk about that necessarily right this second.
Just said.
Obviously, I think Interstellar, and obviously y'all think Martian. So we can argue about that in more detail after we talk about The Martian.
Yeah.
But I do love Interstellar. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's number 4 on my list, I think. In my top 25. Luke and I actually talked about this movie in a previous episode. If you'd like Interstellar, definitely go check it out.
Mm-hmm. Sweet.
So since we'll
let our feelings out about the
we'll definitely fight you later. I mean, what?
I'll fight you guys first.
Right.
No, I do love The Martian, man.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. It's also my top 25. I think it's like 19 or 20.
I was about to say, I think it's at the teens.
Mm-hmm. It's
Nice.
close, yeah. It's a great movie. So should we just jump in?
Yeah, since that's
I'd
our
say
number
so.
ones.
It's our number ones. You can't really talk about it, I guess.
Yeah, we're about
exactly.
Awesome.
to. So I'm doing the thing where I think I suggested this movie.
Yeah, this was a Luke pick.
Yeah, so
Cool.
I'm not gonna rate it. I'm gonna go
Nice.
last. I'll let you guys do it, and then
Sweet.
Nice.
Sweet, sweet, sweet. Okay. Paul, you have any information for us?
Oh yeah, that is my job on this podcast, isn't
It
it?
made like $12.
Well, you know, hey.
Yeah, it
Budget
made,
was 103 million.
Yeah, the director was some nobody.
Yeah. Okay, so an astronaut becomes stranded on Mars after his team assumes him dead and must rely on his ingenuity to find a way to signal Earth that he is alive. Came out in 2015, directed by Ridley Scott. Funny fact, 2 Ridley Scott movies in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Gladiator.
Let's do Aliens next.
Right. And then cast is numerous. I just wrote down Matt Damon, Jeff Daniels, and Jessica Chastain. But, I mean, we got, like, Michael Pena, Chitwell Ejiofor, Sebastian Stan, Kate Mara.
Yep.
Oh, Troy from Community.
Yeah.
Donald Glover.
Donald Glover.
Childish Gambino.
Childish Gambino. He actually plays a pretty smart, goofy character in this show.
Dude,
It's
he-
really
he
funny
does a
because
good-
he's an idiot in Community.
Budget of $108 million,
Wow.
which was only like $5 million more dollars than Gladiator, which
That's
was surprising
crazy.
to me.
Especially for a space movie. That's nuts.
Yeah. Earned $630 million.
There we go.
It did very, very well.
It did
for
very
itself.
well. I remember going to see it.
Yeah.
How much did Interstellar make?
Oh,
It's like 700, I think.
Think so? Close
like-
to $1 billion.
It
I'll
was-
look it up.
was
Don't
slightly-
worry.
It's slightly more than Martian, I remember.
for ratings,
Like
IMDb was 8. Rotten Tomatoes was a 91. Metacritic was an 80.
Nice. It was nominated for like 5 or 6 Academy Awards, but it didn't win.
Yeah, it didn't win any
Any,
Academy.
but
I
it
think it
was
won like
nominated
a
a
couple
lot.
of Golden Globes for actor and movie.
Yeah, Interstellar beat it by like 20 million.
Hey.
Just because it's Chris Nolan.
Hey.
Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
I bet you the budget for Interstellar was way higher, though.
you're probably right.
Has to be. That movie was all CG.
Hey, it looks amazing.
It does. It was good.
It did look pretty
Don't
good.
even act like you don't like Interstellar. You're such a freaking. You gave like Interstellar like a 47.
Interstellar's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Martian. We're gonna talk about The Martian. The first section we score movies based on our show is called the idea/premise.
Nice.
I love, like I said, I love the book. I watched the movie first when it came out, and I went and read the book, and then I've watched the movie probably 2 or 3 times since I've read the book. Most recently, obviously, this last week. But I do love both, and so it's kind of hard for me to kind of differentiate with both. Obviously, we're talking about the movie, not the book. But
Right.
I do love how creative it is from the soul perspective of like kind of a diary entry book.
Yeah.
And then the way they translate that in the movie is really, really cool.
Yeah.
With the souls constantly turning and him kind of being not necessarily entering a diary, but he has the video logs and
Yeah.
he has the different chats with different people, stuff like that. So I think that's really, really clever. The way that they show time in this movie is really, really well done. It's a major part of the movie, and they do it really well. It's really funny and witty and clever, which is also a huge plus. And then it's really stressful, obviously. Like the situation he's in, so stressful. So I gave the idea/premise section a 9. I thought it was super strong, really, really solid. Kind of unique in a way, kind of not in a way. For me, I took 1 point away. I gave it a 9, so it's like a really good score. But I took 1 point away because of the one guy left. It's like Castaway on Mars.
One man.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's alone. Yeah. Anyway, Transformers 2. Shout out. Terrible movie, but that's a funny part of the movie. Anyway, so I took 1 point away for that, but like I said, a 9 is a really good score, so I feel good about that score. Paul?
Yeah, so I agree. You know, if we're really talking about the overarching idea of the movie in space with like a space journey, not that original
Right.
kind of guy alone. Yeah, castaway in space.
Yep.
Makes it where the overarching premise is not very new, but it definitely felt the way they did it was very, very smart. Very, I loved the soul thing.
For sure.
The tracking of time. So I gave it an 8. So docked it a couple more points just again for not being super brand new with much to it, but still a really, really enjoyable movie. And I mean, because again, it hooks you right up at the top with, and it's kind of from the get this movie is going, because it's they're on Mars, storm comes in, and they're like, oh poop. And then they think he's dead, and then they have to just go off.
For sure.
So that's a very interesting, more of an interesting point to me of the whole leaving him behind and then having to come back thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, it is interesting the way that they set it up, because if you remember, there's like a 2 or 3 minute bit at the very beginning where they're goofing around, making fun of each other.
Yeah.
And so they kind of establish that real quick.
Yes.
And then they oh crap, and they just it just goes crazy after that.
Yeah. Where him and Martinez are. Is the Mav still upright?
Standing upright.
Physical checking of the equipment is utter to mission success, Mark.
Well, he's walking underneath the thing, all dramatic and stuff. Yeah, that's funny. I really love the spirit of this movie, and I kind of gave it points for that in this section of the hopefulness of humanity, obviously rallying around this one guy.
Yeah.
The lightheartedness of the movie while also being super intense and stressful.
Yeah.
I just loved the spirit of the book, but also the way they translated that into the movie. And I think that's another reason why I gave this section a 9. But Luke, what'd you give it? I guess you just gave it your score. So
I just gave it my score. I'm gonna give it a 7. So I'm docking it more for the Castaway meets Apollo 13 in space kind of thing.
Right.
Which
is still a cool idea, but it's not I got you.
You can look at other movies like Robin Crusoe or whatever. That one, Lord of the Flies, kind of samey.
I Am Legend.
Anytime someone's alone having to survive, it's kind of the same thing. But just kind of like what you guys said, they take that and they alter it a little bit. So this character here, it's not like they're stranded and they don't really know what to do. This guy has the tools to do it and the brain power to do it. He's not... The only thing that's working against him is really just time.
Yeah.
It's not that he is going to have trouble surviving because he's a botanist. He can make plant potatoes and other stuff. He has the brain power to go and know to go get the rover or whatever it was to communicate with Earth. So they take that and they put a person that would do great in that situation, and of course he thrives. But I mean, I guess the true enemy, like I said, is time, and then people. I guess you could say the director of NASA, Teddy Sanders. Teddy Sanders, are the villains of the movie, I guess, because he's playing. This is a little bit of character, but he's basically the embodiment of corporate. Let's take the safe option. Let's do this. We don't want a PR storm. Blah blah blah. And then time is the other one. How many souls? We can't. At first it's 916 souls, and it's 500 something souls, and then it's this and that. And, 7.
Cool.
Nice.
Okay, our next section is character. Underneath the character section, I said that I loved Watney. That dude is one of my favorite characters, period. He's smart. He's funny. He's creative. His problem solving is just really, really impressive in a lot of ways. And then I love the side characters in this movie too. Teddy Daniels is an interesting character. Martinez is an interesting character. I forget Jessica Chastain's character. Her
Commander
name,
Lewis.
Commander Lewis. She's kind of the boring military straight person, but she's still interesting because of the guilt that she has about leaving Watney. That plays a part, obviously, all the way to the end of the movie. Beck and Johansson's relationship thing is slightly interesting. Just kind of adds a little bit to the movie, I guess.
You didn't even know that's there,
which
until,
you don't know
the very end.
So, the end credits. You're oh
yeah,
children, huh?
Well, she kisses him on the helmet.
The climax of the movie.
But that's like an hour and 45 minutes of the movie. Yeah, and the German guy, Cool Vogel. I like Vogel.
Yeah, he's funny. How they make fun of him.
He's a good side character.
It's like fetish or whatever that is.
Yeah, he's a good character.
Can you make a bomb?
Yeah.
What?
I think Martinez is my favorite character besides Watney for sure.
Martinez is good.
My biggest complaint on this section is the lack of character development. Watney is almost the exact same character at the end as he is at the beginning. Yeah. Which to me...
Except for his weight.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
Right.
The side characters don't necessarily need to develop for a movie to be, like, excellent, you know?
Side characters.
Because they're side characters. But the hero, for me, in a good story, the hero needs to change because of the story. Yeah. So I gave the section a 9, and that's literally the only reason why. Because he doesn't really change, if you think about it, from beginning to end. So that's why I gave him a 9. Again, love Watney, man. Matt Damon absolutely kills it. So great characters. I just took 1 point away for that.
Yeah. Again, agree wholeheartedly with the Watney character is phenomenal. You know, super, super smart. You know, figures where most other people would just be like, well, I'm going to just lay here and die.
No doubt.
He's just like,
well, at one point he even like looks off in the distance like, I'm not going to die here. Like, that's like the moment where he's like, oh, okay, I'm going to figure
he's like,
this out.
I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's a really, really big character strength for me of, you know, not giving up thing.
For sure.
Even when, because it's kind of like you were saying, the main enemy of the movie, I agree with the whole time thing, but the main enemy of the movie is Mars.
It's the planet. Yeah, for sure.
It's just it's the man versus nature kind of thing. It's that kind of classic battle. Because, I mean, you know, if like, he can't grow anything outside, so he has to make a terrarium inside or whatever, the poop
very
in the hab. But then the side characters, I love all of the crew. Because they have their own little like that banter at the beginning, but then the big like group connection. But then I even really like a lot of the characters, like the NASA characters, like Vincent Kapoor being like the really smart guy, like the almost like Mark's equivalent on Earth, smartness level ish.
Yeah. I like Benedict Wong's character.
Character.
He's a fun character.
He's like,
weird seeing him with hair.
Yeah.
Right?
He's like, all the time. He's like,
Yeah.
We'll do it.
You're going to say something like the overtime is going to be a nightmare. And he's like, the overtime is going to be a nightmare.
It's like, we need to do it in 27 days. It's like, I need a cup of coffee or whatever. I need to go take a shower. Whatever he says.
Change of clothes.
Change of clothes. You're like, oh, this guy. I feel so bad for this guy.
But then like we kind of made fun of Donald Glover's character coming in real late in the game.
Yeah, he's a good character.
But then you're like, oh, this is he's the one who kind of figures out.
Bro, Sean Bean doesn't die.
Yep.
My favorite scene in the whole movie is whenever they say the Council of Elrond, and Sean Bean's like, that's a. I'm like, oh my god, that's amazing. Yeah. And then
it's an arrow to the chest.
No doubt.
Right.
And then Teddy Sanders says, I want to be called Glorfindel, and you're like, oh, that's amazing. Because if you read the book, Glorfindel's like a really small character. He's not in the movie. So people think he's an idiot because he like made up his fake name. It's actually really cool. Yeah. He's like actually a nerd.
Right.
So really
and then Kristen Wiig's character's like, oh, I hate you all.
Like, you guys are so gay. Yeah.
But that's
so awesome.
I love the really the weird humor that all of the side characters brought.
Yeah. For sure.
But I totally agree. Everybody is very one note.
Mm-hmm.
There's not, even in the side characters, Mark definitely, I agree, is very one note. A lot of side characters, I mean, some of, like maybe Vincent or some of the NASA people kind of evolve
Teddy
and change
Mitch
a little bit. Yeah.
Too.
But so I gave it an 8 for that because I really do feel like it was a strong, made you fall in love with the characters and did it in a good way.
For sure.
Okay. I'm going to give this section an 8. And instead of saying how awesome Watney is, I'm going to say my favorite thing about Watney is they built him up at the very beginning as this character is very charismatic, very just like happy-go-lucky in a way, like nothing really bothered him.
Oh, yeah.
And the best thing I think they did to him is they showed it probably 3 times as like his like kind of his emotions get the best of him. Like when he's sitting in the rover at that one point, it's like after the hab blows up
Yeah.
And he's in there just like hitting the roof. And then another one was whenever he's about to take off at the very end of the movie from Mars, and he starts crying
when he hears her voice.
Yeah, and I took something out of AJ's book. I started reading like the IMDb trivia and stuff, and I guess in that scene,
they played the pre-recording.
Yeah, Damon and
actors.
the actors were never actually like, they weren't acting together very much. They were they shooting at different times.
Yeah, they filmed that one scene at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so him hearing like their voices, like he like realizing how the character must have felt, that was actually him kind of getting emotional. And so they kept that. And they also kept the scene where Donald Glover's he fell. He's like, I need some coffee.
Yeah.
That was an accident. He actually
That's
tripped.
awesome.
Yeah.
And they kept that. But
the Matt Damon crying, they did it in one take, and he was just like, he nailed it.
He's like, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool.
But I like the emotion he shows amidst all that. And like, I'm not saying that, again, he is very just like happy-go-lucky for the most part.
Yeah.
He's very just like jokes around. But he also has like these serious moments.
Yeah.
The characters, other side characters, like you said, I don't think they change much. At all, because like even like Teddy, like he's the only way they got him, they like even get anything done, they had to go behind his back.
Yeah.
And that they got what Mitch, is that Sean Bean?
Yeah.
And that got him fired essentially.
Right.
Which I was like, man, that's a douchey way of saying you're fired. I expect your resignation at the end of all this. But they were cool. I guess my biggest problem with it is like they would introduce a character, make him a big part, and then leave him behind.
Yeah.
So like the girl that was in Mission Control.
Yeah.
Like she was like big moment.
Yeah.
Big moment. Then it was like, all right, see you later. And then like same with Glover, it's like big moment, which his moment was super cool. Like doing like that's something these characters I think did well, was the realizations. They played that very well. Like hers in Mission Control, like seeing that the rovers moved, you're like, holy crap. And then same with Glover figuring that out, and same with pretty much everything Mark Watney does, and you're just like, oh yes. Something about Watney's character that changed from book to movie was, in the book he had a master's in botany, but also in engineering. Which in the movie they take the engineering away and just make him just a botanist, and so I think it's supposed to make him doing those engineering feats feel a little bit more like meaningful, I guess, instead of him just pretty much knowing it.
I gotcha.
So it enables some trial and error stuff, I think, which allows for some curiosity. And like I said a couple podcasts ago, I'm reading, or I just finished it today, but the book, the 36 dramatic situations, and like there's one section called Enigma, and that's basically this whole movie is just filled with enigmas, just like all these problems that he has to solve. But no, I think an 8 feels pretty true to character.
Cool. Okay, our next section is plot. So for plot, I said solid but repetitive. It's exciting to the end. It's also super simple. So I gave it an 8 because of the strength of the plot, which is the problems over and over and over.
Yeah.
And that builds tension, which we'll talk about that here in a second. But that, for me, is a strength of the plot. The climax is exciting. It's exciting all the way through. The two major things that I had a problem with were the simplicity of it and the repetitiveness of it. Which the repetitiveness thing didn't bother me the first time, maybe even the second or third time I watched the movie. But now, I probably watched this movie a bunch of times at this point, probably 5, 6, 7, 8 times. The repetitiveness kind of hurt it, in my opinion, of him making a mistake or something bad happening, like one after the other. Boom, 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 boom. Which obviously, like I just said, that's part of the plot. That's part of what makes it exciting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, without that villain character,
you kind of expect something to go wrong.
Yeah, it's like, well, the story is going to be super boring if something bad doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So it's like in a typical movie, you have a villain who creates those situations, right? And it's kind of more cat and mouse-ish. In a movie like this, it's really hard to do for that long of a time because it's the same thing over and over. Which it really, like I said, it didn't bother me until this time I watched the movie. The other thing I didn't really like about the plot section is how simple it is. That's one of the reasons I like Interstellar better. which we'll talk about that later, obviously. But for me, The Martian is literally just like Castaway. Get off the island. Like, literally, right? That's the goal. So, and it's just kind of him figuring out how to do that, and then people on Earth trying to figure out how to help him.
Yeah.
And then kind of the crew in the middle trying to figure out how to whatever. But it's just like there's no twists at all. There's no turns at all. There's never a moment where anything's really in doubt. Kind of the whole movie. So it just kind of feels like a really cool, exciting story, but there's never really any plot twists, any moments of doubt at all. So for me, that kind of took some points away. That's why I gave it an 8. I still really, I enjoy the movie, obviously, but that's why I gave it an 8.
Interesting. So I agree and yet disagree on some points.
Yeah.
I actually gave this section a 10 out of 10 because for I'm going to kind of focus on the things you said of the didn't like, because I actually think those make it really, really strong. Like with the repetitiveness, because again, without having a bad guy, you have to have something to make those happen. And I do think that like some of those, maybe again, not true plot twists, but those repetitive problems that keep happening, make it more enjoyable. And for me, it made the movie never get boring.
Right.
Because like, he'd be, movie starts, he's there, he's alive. Okay, got to figure out how to grow food. We grow food, we get a little further in the journey and things like that. And then we're right about to get to the boring part, and then the hab blows up.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, snap.
He loses all his food.
He loses all his food, and then there's the other problem. And then, yes, I understand your point of repetitiveness, but I feel like if that wasn't there, this movie would be very, very boring.
Right.
So, but I also consider those to be a twist. Like, maybe not, again, a true plot twist, but just a plot picker-upper? I'm not a linguist.
Yeah. Well, it's something you thought that was taken care of, and then now they've taken that away. They got to that point. It was celebratory. They had it for a while, then they take it away, and it's like, oh crap! Now what am I supposed to do? I think that's what the twist is.
And then see, that's a big thing that he says at the very end of the movie, like where he's like standing in that classroom, and like where he's talking about, he's like, it's space. It's not ever gonna work in your favor. Yeah. There's always gonna be a problem, and you have to fix it. And I think because of that line and that whole moment at the end is what makes it like tied up in a little bow to say, this is the way it was supposed to be. Like, you weren't supposed to... Because, in a normal movie, we'd think, okay, we're hunky-dory now. He's growing his food. He's going to survive this thing. And then, nope, he's going to die. And so, I don't know. I agree that, yes, after you see the movie a bunch of times, that goes away.
Right.
But I just base it off of a lot of things, off of the first time I remember watching this movie.
Right.
And I was like, oh, snap.
Right.
When, all his crops died, so that's kind of the way I look at these movies is like, how did I, because I also remember, again, going to the theater, midnight premiere of this movie and watching it. And so I remember like the reactions I had and things like that. So it's easier for me to tie back to like those initial reaction feelings.
Yeah.
Right.
And then now every time I watch it, it's just an enjoyment factor, even though I know, he's going to make it.
Right.
But,
No, I agree. I just feel like for this movie to work, you have to have such an upbeat vibe the whole time because of Watney's character that there's just never any doubt. Like, even the first time you watch it, there's never any doubt that he's going to make it. In my opinion, at least.
Yeah. I got
there can't be, or else he just dies on Mars, and that's the end of the movie, and everything was for nothing.
Right. Like, I just don't know. I feel like it's hard to tell a story, which we'll talk about suspense and urgency and tension and stuff like that here in a second, but it's hard to tell a story that is intense and it has all of those features while also maintaining that level of comedy, humor, wittiness, lightheartedness. And so I feel like they do a really good job of balancing that for the most part, but then when it comes down to it, it never really hits home in that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so that's just kind of where I took the points away from.
I got you.
Yeah.
All right, Luke.
So man, I was flip-flopping this score. I in my head I was going like 7-8, 7-8. So I'm gonna go with an 8. Which I think is actually lower than both of you, isn't it?
I gave it 8.
Okay, so it's the same as AJ. So something, I guess my biggest problem with the movie was I thought there was a pacing issue. So I thought it was an extremely strong start, but then there's like what feels like a 30-minute period where you don't even like see Mark or like hear anything. You're on Earth, you're doing stuff there, which is totally fine. It's still like very watchable, but then like they go back to Mark, you're like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot about you. So for me, like there's a segment there. It's like almost 2/3 of the way in that just kind of slows up a little bit, and I feel like they changed the vibe a little bit.
From the rover, whenever he gets in the rover and goes on his trip across
it's a little bit before that.
Before that?
Yeah, a little bit before that, but almost there. But yeah, there's like that part, which it makes sense. You're not going to spend so much time with him in the rover.
That's
'cause
a really
he's just
long.
doing the same thing.
That's a really long part in the book.
Yeah.
They cut that part out.
But so I think that's why I took points away for there. Like I said, extremely strong start. I love that they started off just like, here we go. Like, here's the people. Yeah. And I think they did a really good job of creating a connection with them, even though they were only with them like for maybe 5 minutes total.
Yeah.
Like, you got a sense that they'd been together. They'd had this bond. They created a bond basically without them being together. I think that's a strong point that they did there. I said attention to detail was great because something like you see the rover that's turned over, and the part you go to the sandstorm where the ship lifts off, you see the rover actually flip. Yeah. And they go back to it, and there's a bunch of details like that throughout the movie. So I think nothing was really left like untouched. Like they brought something up and then they didn't refer back to it later, kind of thing. Yeah. Like everything seemed to happen for a reason. I liked how the movie is told through, or like the movie was directed by science pretty much. So I mean, this is probably the most, like, they tried to make it as accurate scientifically as possible. I think one of the things on the trivia they said that wasn't accurate was Mars doesn't actually have like storms like that. They're like that chaotic because they said it feels more like a little gust of wind pretty much. And so they had to, like you said, create an enemy in Mars and make those storms like just outrageous.
Yeah.
Yeah, the author is a huge nerd. Mm-hmm. And he said this was like his love letter to science, basically.
That's funny.
And so Watney is like his version of, like his like cool version of himself, basically. And so he like nerded out hardcore for cool. 400 pages or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Our fourth section on the show is conflict, tension, and urgency. We kind of rank all three of these together, and for me I said outstanding conflict, fantastic tension, and honestly pretty impressive urgency for how long he actually ends up being there.
Yeah,
right.
The way they create urgency for the time, like if you were to tell me he's going to be stuck on Mars for 2 years or 1.5 years or however many years he's there, but they're still going to have urgency like every time he's on Mars, like that's really impressive. I gave the section a 10 out of 10. I thought this was extremely well done throughout the movie. The tension is insane in moments, and then they kind of let you take a breath for a second, and they make you laugh for a second, and then they bring it right back. Yep. It never really goes away. It does, obviously, because you can't have a constant tension throughout the movie, but honestly, it's really, really consistent throughout the movie. The conflict is really like what we've been talking about this whole time. It's humans versus nature kind of thing, which is just a really powerful conflict throughout the movie. Obviously, Watney experiences a lot of internal conflict on whether or not to give up, whether or not to kind of struggle through this mentally, or just kind of forget about his situation from a big, like, large scale point of view and focus on this problem. Obviously, he chooses to focus on the problem like 99% of the time. He could very easily slip out of that and look at it from this, huge 30,000-foot view and get really discouraged.
Yeah. Very motivated.
Really easily, yeah. But he chooses not to. And then the urgency, like I said, the way they create urgency with the souls is really impressive. And then obviously all the problems that we talk about already. The hab blowing up is probably the biggest one because of the lack of food after that. But even the very, very, very end of the movie, whenever they're trying to create that, they're trying to get close to his ship. They're going too fast. They're too far away. The rope won't reach him. Then he punches a hole in his suit. She misses him.
Yes.
You're like, oh my gosh, all these things in a row real quick. So it's like, just they do such a good job of doing all three of those things throughout the movie. I give it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah. I 100% agree. Conflict was great. Man versus nature. We've kind of hit a lot about that. Internal conflict I hadn't thought really much about, but I do agree it is there, of trying to, just to, especially at that one scene like we talked about where he's like, I'm not going to die.
Yeah, for sure.
Tension was huge. I think that's probably the biggest one, because it's super tense when he's, first off, like when he first wakes up and he's got this satellite piece sticking out of his chest and got to make sure that he doesn't get an infection and got to pull all the junk out. And I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Anytime he does something, there's tension.
Oh, dude, yeah.
That first scene, the self-surgery scene.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah. Well, and then like where he's trying to make water for his plants and he's got to light fire and he's like the whole dialogue of, NASA doesn't like doing fires in space because it blows up and you're just like, oh crap. And then they make a bomb later and you're like, wait a minute. Yep. But yeah, then the urgency, huge urgency because of the problems like AJ said. And another one I think of is like the urgency of, all right, you've got 30 days to make a probe to send them food and we're going to rush it because we got to get it there. And then it blows up because they rush it. And then they're just like, nuts.
Yeah.
And then so that all those problems.
Yeah,
so
that sucked.
Yeah.
Dude, that was one of the parts I was just like, oh dang. So yeah, I gave it a 10 out of 10 also.
For sure.
Okay. I think this is my first 10 out of 10 section I've done in a long time.
Nice.
Just because I think everything is very strong. Like just to not like re-hit on a lot of the points, but something you said earlier, something about dying, I can't remember, but it's very Commander Lewis says this at one point. It's like, if we do this, we die. If we do this, we die. If we do this, we die. I'm like, I think that just like is very pointed to like the whole movie. Like pretty much anything Mark Watney does, if something goes wrong, he dies.
Well, and that's I think either the first or the second video log he makes. He's like, if this breaks, I'll suffocate. If this breaks, no water. If this breaks, I'll just kind of implode. And then he lists all the ways he can die. Yeah, that's like one of the first things we learn about him living on Mars, and you're just like, oh my.
I think that's what builds the tension because like right off the bat they tell you like
for sure.
Like, hey, this is like how meaningful all of this is. If something goes wrong, like it's gonna die. And like, and then they have they created I think they created pretty much all three of these at all three levels of like the characters. So Mark Watney is like one, and so like there's every piece of that there, conflict, tension, urgency. The crew, there's conflict, tension, urgency there, and then the people down on Earth, like there's conflict, tension, urgency there. So they have these 3 points of like all three, and it's just like a good stint. They're all having their own problems, but then at the same time they're all having the same problems. Yeah. And I think it's just the way. I almost think this is like, if you took like the way Nolan does things and just like made it a sub piece in a movie, I think that's what is done here with the conflict, tension, and urgency.
Yeah.
Our last section is cinematic elements. We kind of roll a lot of things into this, so acting, directing, writing, CGI, stunts, stuff like that. I gave the section a 10 out of 10. The way this movie is made is phenomenal. It's beautiful. The acting is stellar. The directing is on point. Cinematography is really, really cool. Some of the Martian landscapes and things they do are just beautiful. The music's pretty cool. It doesn't do a whole lot for me, but it's cool in moments. I love, it's kind of a weird, but I love the sound effect that they play every time the soul is on the screen.
Oh, the ping noise.
The ping thing.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, hearing that over and over and over and over and over, by the end of the movie, you're like, oh my gosh, he's been there for so long.
Yeah.
That's a really, really nice touch, I think, for sure. The cinematography is really cool. I think they did some really cool things in the movie. But Ridley Scott, man, he just kills it. He never really makes bad movies, especially movies like this that are kind of right up his alley. So I gave it a 10 out of 10.
I also gave this section a 10. I agree. The shots, like you said, the really wide shots of Mars were really, really cool. And I mean, especially the ones that had a bunch of different layers. I mean, even like some of the CG on them looked really, really good. Like where he's going across in the rover, and you see the little rover, but there are like 3 like little mini tornadoes, and you're just like, what? That looks so cool.
All the craters,
all the mountains.
That bird's eye view, the craters look really cool.
Yep. Obviously, the acting was phenomenal by Matt Damon and everybody else. I really don't feel like anybody did, as far as acting wise, a real bad job. Like I said, the CG was great. There were a couple of points that I thought I was like, that looked a little clunky, but it was like a lot of like the minimal side shots, like where it's kind of like where you see each of the other crew members after they're going back to Mars. They have like their own little moment. And Vogel does like, he's like making his kids laugh with like the water and spitting it out. I was like, that looked a little weird. And like he does a flip, and I'm like, oh, I saw his foot touch the, but some of those, but it wasn't enough to make me.
The zero gravity stuff was kind of the worst.
Yeah,
them going through the ship. There's the part at the very end of the movie where Commander Lewis is going to like put her suit on and go out and get Watney. And she's like doing this the whole way. I was like, oh, that looks like one of those weird horse girls in like high school that was like would gallop around the hallways and stuff. They're obsessed with horses.
Yeah, the zero gravity stuff is by far the worst.
Yeah,
cinematic.
Which that's pretty hard to do in general.
Oh, totally. But I mean, I gave it back because a lot of the other times it was good. It was spot on.
For sure.
And then like you said, the music. I thought the music at times was a little jarring. Mainly, I'm talking about like the disco music.
Yeah,
I didn't like the disco music,
but it was because it was a plot point. You weren't supposed to like it.
It makes sense. Yeah,
but it was so funny.
He doesn't like it either.
Yeah,
so that makes sense that we don't like it because he doesn't like it.
But it was so funny. Like you'd be like all in a serious moment or whatever, and then they'd be like, "What is he doing right now?" And then you're just like, what the? No, I don't want to turn the beat around. So like it was so I thought it was so funny, and the choice that they made of like things like that I thought was really, really well executed.
Yep.
Okay. So I didn't base this part off of your guys' thoughts. I had my own thoughts.
Oh, I'm sure you did. This is the section I always know Luke is going to be like, okay, look, here's the real deal.
Let's talk.
The realeffingdeal.com.
Yeah.
Fuel the jet. Bro, Transformers 2 is so quotable.
It
is such a quotable
It's got some great one-liners, I'm not going to lie.
Don't be so
So I gave this section a 7.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
This is like your movie, bro.
I love it. But I gave it a 7.
Dang. Okay.
I said for the most part, Mars looked pretty great. Like, they did a good job of making Mars look interesting.
Yep.
But then there's some scenes, and I'm talking about the green screen here.
Yep.
Where he like, there's one specifically I'm thinking about. It was a low camera angle shot looking up at him, and then you can see the sky in the background behind him. It just did not look right. And I was like, man, that is a different color than what I've been seeing this whole time.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't make sense.
The wide shots, whenever it's all CGI, are great. And then the shots where it's like an actor's in the shot.
It looks like a set sometimes. That's a note I wrote down. Sometimes you can tell it's a set just because I think you lose a lot of detail, especially with green screen, compared to the real thing. And I think that's something. I mean, it's just not just this movie, but there's a lot of movies as well. And I think you can see that, especially after watching these Mandalorian galleries. You can kind of catch on a little bit. Also. I said acting was very believable. There's a couple. This is more geared towards dialogue. Couple of dialogues I didn't like. Like there's one where the crew's deciding whether or not they should go back and save Watney, and I think it's Commander Lewis. She gives this line that to me is very stereotypical and kind of cringy in a way, but it's the only part I was like, ugh. But she's like, well, you and me we're both military, and so it's like I see that. It's something I see a lot in the workplace. Like people are like, oh well, we and this, so you guys wouldn't know this.
Oh yeah.
And it's kind of one of those things, which is just a dialogue choice I didn't like. And then something. So I like this scene a lot, but then I think it could have been better. So we've referenced it a couple times. It's where Watney he says, I'm not gonna die here. Like as powerful as that is, I think it would have been even better if he didn't say anything. Like you just kind of see him like sitting there, and his like eyes start moving around a little bit, and he gives like a little nod, like almost like you're thinking eternally, like a show don't tell kind of thing. And I think that's a part where they told you, which I like it just as much as the next guy, just because it's cool.
Right. Yeah.
But I think it could have been better. Right. Let's see what else. There were some scene. Man, I hate cinematic elements apart because I just sit here and I feel like I tear a lot of things apart. So let's say the body, like at the end of the movie, the body double. For
the super skinny guy,
Watney. I thought a lot of that didn't match up.
Yeah,
so, and you could tell like when he had the suit on, you're like, oh yeah, he's fat again.
Yeah, totally normal. That's the same thing. Yeah. Now, if this was Christian Bale, he would have lost that weight.
Right.
Dude, apparently Matt Damon offered to lose the weight, and really Scott was like, nah, it's good.
Nah, don't do it. We'll get this body double with a skinny booty. Yeah. So that was good.
And, like, I totally agree. Yeah. Like for me, it was like, oh, that's crazy. But then I was also like, instantly you're like, that's not him.
I mean, it completely makes sense in the movie, but then part of it just didn't match up.
But did you ever believe that he looked like that inside the suit from that when he put the suit on there?
No.
Like when he's sitting in the cockpit getting ready to go back up to space, you're like, it's just Matt Damon, normal Matt Damon. It's not like this like, skinny guy.
Yeah.
I did really like the suits. I thought the orange they used throughout, because the rope was orange. Mars, the orange color. The suits were that orange color.
Yeah.
And
Did
that
you
was
know that all the faceplates and stuff were all CGI after?
After I knew the lighting and helmets and stuff were all real. I read that on IMDb. I thought that was pretty cool because the lighting stuff on the faces. I didn't know that.
Because they didn't want to have to like reflect all this stuff.
Right. I mean, you'd think so. That's what they did in Endgame as well. Which Endgame I didn't think they did great on their helmets. Suits were good. What else was I gonna say? Element I did like. This was skinny Matt Damon time. Was his teeth were really gross. And that's kind of like a plot point, I guess. But I'm like, you would run out. I mean, he had toothpaste for probably the first 100, 200 souls, but then eventually you're gonna you run out. And it's
well, they only plan on being there for 30 days, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, what is he gonna do? So I mean, that's another detail. I think, like when I earlier once said the rover flipping over, and he has to go pull the batteries out of the flipped rover.
Right.
So yeah,
the continuity in times.
Yeah, they did a good job of hitting those details. The skinny part, whether it was good or not, but still, I mean, I think that's pretty great. But
the only cinematic element we haven't talked about yet is kind of the comedy, if that counts as a cinematic element. I think it totally helped the movie.
Yeah,
overall.
100%.
Yeah. Especially Watney, his character's so funny. What was the funniest moment in the movie for you guys?
When he's cussing him out over text.
That was good. That was good.
I love it whenever they cut to outside of the rover, and he's like, and you just see him yelling.
Yeah,
and you don't know. Obviously, you know what he's saying, but you can't hear what he's saying. That was really funny.
But yeah, and then the guy Vincent's like, "What are you doing? We're broadcasting this
to
live."
The world.
And he's like, "Oh yeah," and then you just see their faces, and they're just, and you hear the crowd go.
Do you know what he says in the book?
I can't remember. It's been a little bit since
I don't remember exactly what he says, but I remember it's like an emoticon that he makes like with the.
Oh yes.
I forget what it is, but I remember that's what he does. And I remember being like, "Oh my god, that's so funny."
No, he had a bunch of good funny stuff. Like where they want him to send a picture, and he's like, "Should I do this or should I do?" He goes, "And was this the Fonz?"
And then Kristen Wiig's like, "I can't use this.
Yeah,
I gotta get his face." You're like, "Wait, what?" You got to get his face.
Yeah.
Let me just tell him to take his helmet off.
Right. And the part where he calls himself a pirate. And I liked all the scenes where he's like, technically, I've colonized Mars or whatever.
Yeah. Those were
that was all great.
I think my favorite is still the Council of Elrond, man. That's just my favorite scene.
Well, I think, and
it's so good.
There were a lot of scenes that were just funny, and they were just like quick. Yeah. And they were small, like when Donald Glover's character, like he's like asleep.
Yeah.
And he like wakes up. And like takes a sip of his coffee and he spits it out into the trash can and it's like holy and he's like lifts it up and he's like, and you just see it and he's like, dang. He drops it. And I'm just like, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like,
I love whenever he walks over to Teddy Sanders and like picks up his pen and he's like,
when he asks, "Who are you?"
Like, "Who are you again?" It's like the director of NASA. You're like, "Oh, cool." Like, oh yeah. That's good stuff. Total scores for me, that is a 46 out of 50.
I also have a 46 out of 50.
Nice.
I'm a 40.
This is your favorite movie.
Well, it's not my favorite movie.
It's like one of your top 10 favorite movies of all time.
I think it's up there. It's
Top
a
15?
40. This
Bro.
is this. I think this is the first 40 I've given in a long time.
Well, yeah, because
Yeah.
you're like a hater,
Thanks, straight.
A hater.
bro.
I'm just being completely objective.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's good.
What'd you give Blade Runner for 2049?
A 49, okay?
Is that what I gave for it?
No, I don't know.
I
I'm
believe
curious
it.
now. Hold on.
It's at least a 47.
Hold on. We'll get there. It was before Boondock Saints, right?
Yep.
Star
It was
Wars.
a hot minute.
Was it before Star Wars?
I don't
Yeah, I gave it a 46. Aha!
Just saying. Totally objective.
But Blade Runner is my favorite movie,
I know. I'm just saying.
and they're my favorite movie because they're cinematic achievements.
Oh, okay.
Cinematic.
Okay. A couple of meta questions for you guys. You guys have any questions?
I actually don't know.
You got any questions?
No.
Okay, I got 3.
I feel like he's going to make us fight over Interstellar a long time.
Okay, Matt Damon, top 5 best movie. What do you think?
Yeah, he acted his butt off.
This is his best movie ever.
Ooh. He's good in the Bourne movies. He's good.
Dude, he is so good in the Bourne movie.
The Departed.
It's top 5. I would have to think about it.
For
Yeah.
me, it's top 2 for sure. Just because this is something like Tom Hanks and Castaway kind of thing,
Yeah.
where you're putting a person by themselves and you want them to act by themselves.
Right.
For sure.
And he absolutely kills his Mark Watney. Like he's who I envision as this character. It's
sure.
it's like the perfect casting. Like
For sure.
Yeah.
That was one of the other things I read about, or I actually watched this on the bonus features on the DVD. Ridley Scott made a list of all the actors he wanted for all the roles, and he got every single one of them.
yeah,
Nice.
that's
It's
awesome.
crazy. Like, I mean, how many movies actually like get the people they want for every single role? Ridley Scott, best movie he's ever made.
Hold on, we just did Gladiator, so
I'm gonna say no because I like Gladiator better than
I'm
Martian.
going to say, yeah, he did Gladiator. He did the Robin Hood movie. He
Alien.
did Alien, the first one or two or something.
Blade Runner.
First Blade Runner, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's top 5.
I'll say Gladiator.
It's probably like
as a
top 2.
director,
I would say Gladiator.
this is top 3 for me.
You like Blade Runner better?
Well, it's hard because I like Blade Runner, Alien, Gladiator a lot.
Not Robin Hood.
I like Robin.
I like
but
Robin
it's
Hood
not my
too.
top
It's not
3.
as good as Martian. No, I would say Gladiator's better, and I would go Martian 2 for me personally with Ridley Scott.
So I think Gladiator might be number 4 for me,
Ooh, interesting.
behind like Alien, Martian, and Blade Runner. I don't know what the order of those 3 are.
The original
Nice.
Blade Runner is just not my favorite.
Neither.
Did you
of
like
them-
that one?
Neither of them
I
AJ's
liked it.
cup of tea.
I liked the newer one better. But,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, yeah.
The original one was just like it was rough.
Yeah, I need to watch the original one again, but I did enjoy it.
Okay, my last question.
Is
Martian
Interstellar.
or Interstellar?
Well,
Okay,
look at my top 5
literally-
list.
No, I know what you said, and I know what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
said.
yeah.
My question is Interstellar or Martian, and it's for 2 reasons. One, because in my opinion, these are 2 best space movies of all time.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
we
yeah.
all had them both in our top 3,
Ours were 1s and 3s.
and
Yeah.
mine's were 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's top 3 space movies of all time for all 3 of us.
Yeah.
They came out relatively the same time.
Yeah.
So for me, these movies are kind of linked forever because of that they came out at the same time. I wonder if it's similar to Braveheart and Gladiator in a sense, whichever one you watch first you like better, or if it's just not really applicable in this case. What do you guys think?
Dang. Okay, so sorry. Quick fact. Gravity came out in 2013. Interstellar came out in 2014. Martian came out in 2015.
Yep,
Golly, the
It was
the
like
year
the
of
space run.
yep, for sure.
Man, that's tough for the whole. I enjoy both of them. I need to watch. I've only watched Interstellar one time, whereas I've watched Martian many times because, like I said, I just watched Interstellar for the first time
Right.
last year, which I don't really know why. Because again, with me going to like all the movie premieres of those years, I don't know why I missed it because I went to most of the other Chris Nolan ones. And I remember it being a huge thing, and I just, for some reason, just never got around to it. But with that being said, I'm saying all that to say that I enjoyed it so much from watching it one time. So I don't really have much of an argument, whereas I think Martian is better slightly because of the aloneness
Yeah.
Yeah.
the singular guy, the singular acting.
Okay.
Even though at certain points there is that in Interstellar.
Right.
It's just not the focus.
Not the whole movie, yeah.
But I do like the whole aspect of it being more of a journey and more of an actual plot and things like that. There's more stuff to like latch onto.
Right.
So I feel like that like we kind of talked about with Braveheart and Gladiator, for me, those two movies personally like are not similar at all. Whereas these two movies, like, they're really, really close.
Right.
So I yeah.
Cool. Luke?
So I like both of them for like very different reasons, I guess. So my favorite genre is sci-fi, but I like the more like outlandish sci-fi, which you would probably put Interstellar under.
Yeah.
I think Martian's more realistic than Interstellar for sure.
But I like The Martian because it feels very real. It feels like this is very possible.
It's just a little bit ahead of where we are right now.
Yeah.
Not much, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I like Matt Damon a little bit more in this role than I like Matthew McConaughey. I think the ending in The Martian is a little bit more rewarding than it is in Interstellar.
Interesting.
Jessica Chastain's in both movies.
Yeah, so's Matt Damon.
Oh, he is in Interstellar.
Yeah, they're both in both.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Yeah. They're both, they flip-flop because Damon's more of a lead role in this movie, obviously. And Chastain's more of a lead role in Interstellar.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, but yeah, they're both in both.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But I like The Martian just because of that. The end, I like it more. Like, it's very narrow margin, but I like it more because of the ending and the realism of it.
No, I totally agree. I do love The Martian. I mean, it is. I just gave it a 46, man.
Yeah.
I love this movie. I give Interstellar the nod slightly, and I don't want to talk about this forever. I just want to give my kind of opinion for people who agree with me or disagree with me. But I like it slightly better. I like Watney's character a lot. I already talked about that a lot tonight. But for whatever reason, I like McConaughey's better because of the development, because of the emotions that he has.
Yeah.
Watney just doesn't show emotion. Luke mentioned the one or two times he does in the movie, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
McConaughey is just this. I mean, he is. It's all about his daughter, right?
Yeah.
And it's so emotional. That's why I like that movie better personally, is because of the emotion, because of the storytelling. The Martian is a fun, feel-good, exciting kind of popcorn space
You don't
movie.
have to think as much.
And it's very simple, straightforward, very little thinking. Interstellar is kind of the opposite, but it's like you said, you like both movies for two different reasons.
Right.
Interstellar is just more my style, and it's more of the genre, the way that I like to watch movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I totally love both movies. I would give the edge to Interstellar slightly because of Matthew McConaughey's character and because of the storytelling. I like the story of Interstellar better. Kind of like Paul said, the journey aspect is more fun and interesting to me than the being trapped in one spot the whole time. But then also the emotional journey that goes along with that, with the time relativity, with the daughter feeling betrayed, with Michael Caine's plot twist of planning on everyone dying, which is crazy.
What a jerk.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then the ending. I know the ending is trippy and it's out there and it's not people's favorite. I don't mind it. It is a little bit out there, but I do love the ending after that whenever he goes back and his daughter's like 90 or whatever.
See, I think that's, for me, that's the weirder part.
Is that part?
The part where like he's breaking that dimensional wall or whatever. I thought that was cooler, but where he wakes up and it's she's 90 and then they're in this like, weird. I was like, what the heck?
See, I love that scene.
He hangs out with her for like 2 minutes and then like goes to space.
I love that scene.
All right, well I gotta go.
Good seeing you.
I love that scene. And then I like the ending whenever Anne Hathaway's character's on the new planet.
Oh yeah.
By herself. And she finds that the other astronauts died, and then he goes to find her. It's implied, obviously, that they kind of save humanity together through that planet. But obviously, they kind of save themselves.
Maybe they all die.
Yeah, maybe. Interstellar 2. Come on. No.
Do it.
Don't
they
do
won't.
it. Please don't.
It's all time travel.
Don't do it. But yeah, like I said, man, really thin margin. I just, for whatever reason, I like the emotion, I like the storytelling better. on Interstellar.
And you know, something you said made me think of another point that I kind of forgot to bring up with Martian. That's a difference factor of where you kind of have to figure out stuff in Interstellar. With Martian, they serve it up for you.
Yeah.
Like, especially with the characters, like they tell you everybody's name and what their role is, and that's all you need.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, this is the boss guy.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the smart guy. Oh, this is the,
Right.
and so that really helped make it even more simple, which
Well, and they always have a dumb character in the room to explain things to, whether that's us as the audience whenever he's talking to the camera, obviously, or Kristen Wiig is that character a lot of times whenever they're explaining things to her, or they'll explain things to the media. So they do that throughout the movie really well, explain the complicated things to the dumb people like us, the audience. But yeah, I love both movies, man. I think space movies are super fun. For whatever reason, I think humans as human beings, we latch onto those adventure stories of places that we've never actually been before.
Yeah.
Or at least very, very, very few of us have been before. And so it's really kind of exciting in a different, unique way.
right.
Yeah, I want to watch Ad Astra, I think, sometime soon.
For me, that's why it's my number 2. Is it's a combination of both movies.
both of those.
Like you get kind of weird sciencey stuff of Interstellar, but then you also get like the grounded part of The Martian and of like the loneliness and the I think it's a good combination of the two.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sweet. Next week we are kicking off our month-long marathon of war movies.
Yep. So this year, for those of you that don't know, is the 75th anniversary. I don't know how you want to say that, but of the end of World War II. VE Day has already happened. I don't know, for those of you that are into this kind of thing, like they had a big celebration in London, and I think VJ Day is coming up in August. I don't remember. But so what we decided with next week is D-Day, the 76th anniversary. And so we just decided, why don't we do kind of a military/war movie kind of nod to... We're still kind of formulating it, but next week we for sure are doing Saving Private Ryan. And that episode is going to be coming out on D-Day for that anniversary, and we're going to wrap that up at the end of the month, quote unquote, on July 4th. We're going to be doing an episode on the Patriot.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I'll be looking forward to that. And yeah, we're excited for that. It's going to be a good month.
Should be awesome, man. War movies are super fun, super great. Yeah. Love that genre.
I haven't seen Saving Private Ryan in a while.
Dude, I haven't either, man.
It's been a minute.
Yeah,
pretty pumped.
for sure.
Well,
Good stuff, guys.
Is that all we got?
Good pick, Luke.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Pew pew.
Good pick.
Cool. Well, we'll catch you guys next week for the big Fitty Bomb.
50th episode.
Two Dudes in a Movie.
It's like anniversary week.
We're
gonna start putting gray in my beard.
I know. Well, we'll see you guys next week for Saving Private Ryan. Catch you next time.